All right, we're live. Boom. We'll give it a few minutes for people to start rolling in. As they do, I'll just stare at the screen. Hey, do me a favor. Oh, look at this, waiting with bated breath. Were you nervous, Daniel? Hey, when you log in, what's cool is tell us where you're from. What country, what state, what city, a little bit of background. And also, when you're logging in, gang, if you've done any type of martial arts, self-defense training, if you've trained with me or my team, but we'll give it a few minutes, let the stream start going. We're just a minute inside here, so hopefully everyone's good with the audio, video. We're on 6 platforms. Hey, Rich. So guys, remember you log in, say hi, and do a little, just as we grow this audience, what a great way to connect with people all over the world. So, let us know where you're from. When we did the test on Thursday, we had Australia, Canada, USA, England, I think Indiana. I just read Indiana there from Paulo. India on it. South Africa was crazy. I don't remember what time it was. Elisa, what time did we do that? We got to look at that time. It was kind of like a really good time zone when we did the first test. All right, we'll let it grow a little bit. Hey, Carmen from New York. I always find this part awkward and goofy. Like when I watch other people's lives and they're just sitting here staring at the camera, staring at the names and saying hi to people. What's crazy is like LinkedIn just posted and it just says LinkedIn user. It's not showing your name, whoever the gentleman or woman is. Some of the channels aren't populating the names on our screen here. We'll give it a few minutes. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's play geography. Where are you from? Alejandro from Sweden. Todd, where are you from? Put it in here. And I wonder, I guess you can't see where people are from other than unless they're posting on the platform, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, where you're from. So let's go. Nice. Holy shit. Rich, you just got back from Uganda and you taught 1,000 people. Amazing. Alain from Montreal. Bonjour. Jessie threatens me when I speak French. She warns me. She says, your French is horrible. Do not speak French. How you doing, man? Good to see you here. Got someone from Rome. This must be so freaking boring. So freaking boring just sitting here waiting for us to start. Andy, how you doing, buddy? Thank you. Joe, George Foster, rock and roll. All right. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna play a little Instagram video while we're waiting for people. Maybe we'll lose a couple people when I play this, but hold on a second. Let's play this. If I can find it. Enjoy this. And hold on a second. I want to read Daniel's message. As long as I'm on my meds. From Texas, followed me since 2015. Judo, Shotokan, Krav, Tim Larkin's program. Nice background. Well, everyone enjoy this. Let's do this. I'm going to play this video, and some people may log off and never log in again, and some of you may smile. This will be like a filter. So let's go. Let's check this out.
Stewie, trust me, boys can't get periods.
Brian, it's 2022. There's no such thing as a boy anymore, or a girl. Just a vast sea of chubby theys and them, so coddled by their sanctimonious woke parents who think activism is virtue signaling on Instagram. If Martin Luther King could come back and see what they were doing in his name, he'd never stop throwing up.
Maybe you are having a period.
All right. Did we laugh? Who laughed? Let me see who let me see who deleted me and logged out. Okay. For those of you who don't know, I've got 6 dogs. I should have popped up a picture of my pack on Instagram of my 6 dogs. But I may have to jump up at one point and close the door if they get a little crazy here. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so the theme here, and here's kind of what I want to do, gang, with this here, is like this is really our first episode of this live stuff, and we've been doing the No Fear podcast for several years now. I think we got 60, 70, close to 80 episodes there. Some really amazing stuff. In fact, did I pop up? Do we have the link to Libsyn and to show people where to go on that? It's crazy. I'll find it after, but Elisa, maybe you can find the Libsyn link. And we're on Spotify and obviously iTunes and Apple and all that stuff. But if you haven't consumed any of the original No Fear podcasts, there's some amazing content on there, and I encourage you to check that out, especially if you're on the road or warming up or working out, and to listen to this stuff in the background. That's the link there. It's kind of a weird one to remember, just the name No Fear, and then Libsyn, liberatedSyndication.com. But the people on there was amazing, and so I want to talk a little bit about the origin of this idea. One of the things that I miss, and it's my favorite thing being a coach and a trainer for now going close to 40 years, over 40 years, is interacting with people, asking questions. I feel like I am the most alive and the most energized and in flow state when I'm answering questions. So I said, like, how do we get that happening? How do we get this interactive? So what the live concept is going to be is I'm hoping that I'm going to pick a theme each week. Like today, we're going to talk about boxing and self-defense, boxing in the street. And I have been a huge fan of boxing for decades. I boxed, I studied boxing. I trained at a gym in Montreal that produced, the Hilton brothers there, where they fought for world titles, and I mean, they were badasses. And I sparred down in Gleason's gym in New York and had my eyes closed there, flash knockout. There's several seconds of my life missing in Brooklyn. But my point is, I'm going to pick a theme every time we do this. And it might be something in the news. It might be some violent attack. It might be some demo. And I'm going to just run it through my filter and talk about it. And then I want to interact with everybody around the world. What are your questions? What are your thoughts? So that's really the idea of it. I also have this amazing list of people that I want to bring on here. So we're going to bring on guests from time to time. And if we know in advance and it's not a spontaneous thing, we'll let you know, hey, don't miss this. This so-and-so will be on. What else did I want to tell you? So we'll do some Q&A, and then at the end, we'll do some shameless plugs for training opportunities with us, because selfishly, I want you to experience our research. I really, really believe, if you've been following me for any length of time, and you're just truly, if you've got good self-awareness, I'm not full of shit. I'm totally transparent and totally honest about the system, what I believe that the whole No Fear program and the Spear system can do to you, regardless of your martial art training, whether you have any or not, whether you're law enforcement, firefighter, soccer mom, entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. When you create more awareness for yourself, your self-awareness improves your situational awareness, and situational awareness is everything. And what I mean by that, without going too deep down a rabbit hole, is this is so nerdy, but hopefully I'll try to make it as clear as possible. Every victim of violence who lived to tell the tale said they had a bad feeling before an attack. That means their situational awareness picked up, their intuition, their instincts picked up this radar that something was off, but they didn't have an internal system, the self-awareness part, because it's self-awareness. The mind navigates the body. It's your self-awareness that says, yeah, I should get the fuck out of here right now. I should run, I should hide, I should charge the threat. That inner coach is the difference between success, failure, or survival, or getting run over in a confrontation. And so everyone talks about, oh, head on a swivel, get off the bang, improve your situational awareness. But if you're not improving your self-awareness, which is your ability to self-coach, to manage fear, to make a decision. I know I'm scared, but I got to move towards the danger right now. That's what separates everybody. And I've done decades of research on it, and this is what inspired the whole original Cerebral Self-Defense Mental Edge that we released in 1993. That program became, and part of that program was the cycle of behavior. Elise, why don't you pop up the cycle of behavior? Because this is, for those of you who trained with me back in the 80s and 90s, this thing has morphed a bunch of times here. And this is this is the latest iteration of it. I'm not going to go through it today. We'll tap into that another time. But this cycle behavior it's like we call it the neural circuitry of fear. It's a flow chart for your mind. We're in a scenario, everything's good. Boom, a stimulus gets introduced too quickly. We're in the fear loop. And then we're like, holy shit, how do we get out of the fear loop? But we'll cover that on another call. So, hey, Simon, good to see you there. So let's move back to the kind of the overview of the program. So each week, or I might do this 5 days a week. It's so much fun. The content will be explained in the introduction. We'll focus on that. And then what we'll do after that is Q&A. And we may invite some of you up into here, depending on if I have access to you and can make that happen, because we can invite guests in here. But I will bring on prominent figures in the self-defense, in the tactical community, in the business community, athletes, whatever. And the concept is this: every single person listening to this deals with fear in your life. And so that's why we're calling it No Fear Live. And we wrestled with a bunch of names originally. We had originally I said, okay, how about the Mostly Peaceful podcast? And we laughed about that. We thought it was good. And I had another one, say it to my face, because a lot of people like talking behind people's backs, right? And it's like, yeah, so-and-so really, I hate when he does this. Well, tell him. I'm not going to tell him, right? So, and then we settled on just No Fear Live. Keep it simple. Keep the whole No Fear movement. And I'll tell you why I want to share this. I believe that if we changed people's relationships with fear, we would change their life, period. Everyone. I can tell you, and I will, because you're a captive audience, but other times as we get into this, I was writing for, you guys know that those who follow me know that I write a newsletter. We put it out 3 times a week. During the pandemic, I wrote 5 days a week, just trying to keep people going and motivated, inspired. And holy shit, I mean, I probably could have released 5 books with as much as I wrote. And it was cathartic, but it was to give people hope. It was to share this thread of that you can't be brave if you're not afraid. One of our most potent lines from the No Fear program: you cannot be brave if you're not afraid. The primary ingredient of courage is fear. And when you understand that kind of empowers you. When you get nervous about something, it could be public speaking, it could be defending yourself, it could be firing somebody. Hang on one second. Thank you, Ace. Thank you, Ace. I should bring the dogs in here and introduce them to you. For everything we do, and how's the sound now? It's so echoey all of a sudden, but it's okay. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can fix that, because it's very distracting to me. There we go. We'll see if that works. But the concept is super, super simple, that all of us, you may be the biggest badass, you never lost a fight, you like fighting, you don't like, that doesn't take courage if you like it, right? You don't take courage. If you have a screw loose and you just do dangerous things, no, and what's interesting is when we look at people who do things we can't do and there's risk to it, we often go, oh my God, that person's so brave, they're so courageous. But if somebody's truly an adrenaline junkie or has a death wish, that act, whatever they're doing, requires zero courage. It's if somebody is afraid and self-aware, and this is coming out now, it's amazing because again, those of you who've been following my content for any amount of time know that I've been talking about fear since the 80s. But now, lately, we got, and it's so good to see all these type A warrior athletes, warriors, professional athletes, St. Pierre, Tyson, Navy SEALs, special operations guys. Randy Couture literally this week just said, yeah, of course you're afraid. Everyone is fear. But there's a whole school of macho thought out there of like the whole fuck fear, but it's a derogatory, pejorative concept. Our fuck fear is an acronym, of course. Face it, understand it, control it, know it. FUCK, face, understand, control. It's actual formula that'll get you through that next obstacle. So we'll obviously spend a lot of time on that. But what I was talking about is like every guest that I'm going to bring on, every conversation, for somebody to rise above, for somebody to self-actualize and become something in their lives, whether it's their occupation, their role as a parent, martial arts, whatever it is, there had to have been obstacles. And the only way you overcome and go through an obstacle is by managing your fear. And that's a worthy conversation. So I'm excited to get into that. But let's jump in here and talk about, remember, if you're logging in late, you can roll this back. But also pop in when let us know where you're from. We've got people from all over the world now here, UK, Australia, Denmark, Holland. Very, very cool. Keep it growing. Tag your friends, bring them in here. Let's have a worldwide conversation of this. If you manage your fear, you control your mind, and you improve your self-awareness. Self-awareness improves critical thinking, and critical thinking improves your relationship with situational awareness, right? So you look at something, you get a bad feeling about it, whatever it is, that's that critical thinking self-awareness piece that says, you should run away right now. You should charge the threat right now. You should quit. You should get therapy. You should start your own business. You should get married. All of these things are critical thinking. And if your self-awareness piece isn't dialed in, you're going to run into some problems. Okay. Hello from London. All right, cool. Now let's jump into the video that I promised you. So this video went viral many, many years ago. And it's funny because when you're a web celebrity, which is a cute word for somebody who's famous online, and I'm not trying to sound grandiose here, I'm famous online, right? I've been around a long time. I was around when Al Gore invented the internet. That's a joke, but like back in the 80s, MMA.tv, we had a forum. It was just insane the amount of, trolls and haters. The term didn't exist back then, but holy shit. We were always controversial because we would say to people, look, like there's no evidence that works. This is the evidence here. We were looking at like real surveillance video of violent encounters. And mistakenly, people would think I was putting down their martial arts, forgetting I've been a lifelong martial artist. And I've practiced wrestling, boxing, taekwondo, Wing Chun, Tai Chi, jiu-jitsu, knife, gun, all this stuff. Love all of it. But my focus, my personal not unconscious bias, conscious bias was I wanted to be able to protect myself and my family. And so I would always envision and run scenarios trying to make moves happen. That was the origin of the system, the sucker punch drill, right? Where I had Warren, who was a really good boxer, put on 16-ounce gloves, standing in front of him in a private lesson. I said, hey, we're going to talk. You punch me as hard and as fast as you want whenever. I'm just going to wear a mouth guard. And he's like, okay, what are you going to do? I said, we're just going to film this. This is back in the 80s with RCA, you know, remember the big VHS RCA camera. And we're filming this alone in my school. And part of my athletic ego thought I was going to wax on, wax off him all day long. And you know, Karate Kid didn't even exist back then. I'm making fun of the idea. I just thought I was going to go, oh, bong sow that. Oh, I'll parry this. I'll bob and weave this. I thought I was going to make that happen. And here's what, and I want to share this with you before we segue into this boxing clip. I'm standing in front, so I had hallucinated this drill because I said to myself, you know, we're always sparring, we're tapping gloves, we're moving around, that's cool. But like in the street, someone says, excuse me, do you have the time? And you look at your watch, and next thing you know, there's a gun or a knife in your face, or you're getting sucker punched. The bad guys are distracting us. They're inserting themselves inside the facade of behavior in day-to-day life, right? They're not announcing, I'm going to attack you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I'll be wearing a bright yellow, right? It's a surprise attack. So it surprises us emotionally, psychologically, physically. And it occurred to me through the scenario training I was doing that everything we did it with what we now call ACP, awareness, consent, and preparation. I know I'm going to the gym. I know I'm doing a scenario or sparring. I consent to do it, right? Think of times that you all went to go, you went to go work out, and then the instructor says, guys, we're sparring tonight, and you forgot your cup or your mouth guard, or you weren't feeling well, or you were really fucking scared. So you manifested it. Yeah, I'm not feeling good tonight. Because we had awareness and the opportunity for consent or to like step out of it, it changed everything. And now when you did it, no matter what you did, we didn't realize that because we had awareness and consent and we engaged in the drill, we had preparation. None of those things exist in their entirety in a real violent encounter. And that's huge. It's a massive epiphany, big fancy word for light bulb moment, if I can do my best to inspire it. Think about that, right? Because when I ask anybody, what would you do here? They pause, they go, so a guy pulls a gun on you, guy pulls a knife on you, two guys do this. Everyone on this call would pause and go, well, here's what I would do. And what you're doing is you're downloading ideas, theoretical ideas based on drills you've done. And the evidence is very, very clear. Remember, in 1993, I closed my school and I started teaching law enforcement full time. And then that word of mouth evolved into our work in military, all the way up to the most elite special operations all over the world. And we still do that. And that blows my mind. That is the coolest thing, because people who really, really fight ask us questions and ask us to help design scenarios for them and talk about psychobehavior, startle, flinch, conversion. So back to the sucker punch drill and my part of what I'm going to do in the debrief when I show you this boxing video, and I'll show you two of them, is I had Warren standing in front of me, and Warren was a pretty skilled amateur boxer. And I said, dude, we always square off. We always say, scenario is going to be over there, go over there. So we're creating awareness, consent, preparation. And it didn't really test your readiness when it was a surprise, what we call a jack in the box. How many of you here remember the jack in the box, right? You know, and the clown pops up. And some of you are scarred by clowns still to this day. But I used to, when I was on the road for a period, I would bring the jack in the box. I don't know if I talked about this in the last call, but I'm going to revisit it here for new people. And they were, I stopped doing it because I went through 3 of them really quickly, and they just got destroyed in the bags and traveling. But I would bring somebody up and I would say, okay, this is the Jack in the Box here. I'm going to crank the arm on it. So we got the clown music, right? And you know a clown's going to pop up. You know the lid's going to pop up. You know there's going to be a pre-contact cue as you hear the mechanism clip. You're going to see the lid pop up. A clown head's going to pop out. I said, I want you here. I'm fucking doing everything for you. So you just focus on your complex motor skill, your martial art technique. And you just get ready to double finger jab that fucking clown like a Three Stooges fight, and the clown's not going to be able to block you because he's got no training. And nobody could do it, right? So people would be here and the lid would pop up, but the clown could always jump up first before you could hit the finger jab. It was a simple, funny, cartoony example of action versus reaction. And if you're truly practicing self-defense and or martial arts, because they are different, and you don't understand action versus reaction, you don't understand the physics of motion and movement, you may have a problem one day in a violent encounter. Because the bad guy is always action. The bad guy always moves first. Now, don't be a contrarian, there are examples where this isn't the case, right? Where we see a bad guy drinking some liquid courage. In other words, you're a security or bouncer at a bar and you've identified this looks like a problem here. You're watching. You can move first and intercept. The same thing with some cases in law enforcement, some cases in military and SWAT, and some cases for us. We can see a pre-contact cue, make a courageous choice based on training or improvisation, and move towards it and intercept it. But statistically, that's not how violence happens. I wrote an article and we have a course called Violence Loves Speed a couple of years ago, and violence loves speed, and violence doesn't care what martial art any of us practice. It just, all of a sudden, it's just there. And what happens in that moment is our emotional, psychological systems are challenged. And in that moment that you've got that startle flinch response, your executive function is hijacked. Access to your cognitive brain is restricted. Your reptilian brain, thank God, right? We've got the startle flinch cross extensor chain. The body gets small and recoils away from the danger. And if there's time and space, the hands shoot out towards the threat, fingers splayed outside 90. So I didn't know any of that before the sucker punch drill. And so I say to Warren, I go, hey, dude, here's what we're going to do. Put these gloves on, pick a scenario. I'll start talking the scenario and then you attack me. And he goes, so you're not going to do anything? I go, no, I'm going to try and block and slip, but I'm not going to strike you. I'm not going to counter. He goes, okay. And he gets this like little maniacal smile on his face. And when he got the smile on his face, I'm like, oh, fuck, something's off here. This isn't good. And those of you who've heard the story, and some of you might have even been back at the school, like Mitch Joel was on the call on Thursday. We did the test, I think it was. And Mitch was one of my original students when he was 40. He remembers these drills. But it was during the sucker punch drill, when I was getting my face punched in, that the startle flinch started to emerge, because pain is the mother of invention, certainly one of them. And when you get hit in the face, the hands come up. And I noticed throughout this, and I did this for close to an hour, I had, a mouse under both eyes, bleeding from my mouth. My head was ringing. It was interesting because I could have stopped the drill and went, this is stupid, stop. Like, we were alone. But I kept going because at first, my athletic ego was, this is bullshit. Like, this is my student. He shouldn't be able to hit me like this. And I want you to all kind of lean into this vulnerability and transparency for a moment. My athletic ego was like, I taught this kid, he shouldn't be able to punch me in the head. Do some of us carry that arrogance and overconfidence into the street? Possibly. I've been training for so long, and I told a couple of great stories on Thursday's call if you jump back in there. So I stayed in it initially because I was pissed that I couldn't read the attacks. But what I figured out was there's a distance where where, yeah, too close is too close. Proxemics is everything. If I'm over here and I extend my hand towards the camera, like anyone here who strikes or has done any type of sparring can tell Tony's too far. But if I lean towards you here, and now it's like whack, now if we were having an argument like in an elevator or between parked cars, and I'm going, fuck you, man. And then I stand up and I'm moving towards you, or I lean towards you, our brain, the genius of the human weapon system, starts to register, okay, this is getting too close. And you can see that if a dog's approaching you, if people are approaching you, if a car's approaching you, like you pause, you stop, and you're like, but your body doesn't go, and like the old Terminator movie, you don't get an LED screen with like, what's the weapon, what's the threat, what's the distance. The first thing that happens is your actual cognitive brain gets bypassed. Your instincts and intuition start to move you away. A single cell amoeba poked under a microscope with a pinprick moves away from the pinprick. At a cellular level, we all move away from danger. And so what started to happen when Warren started throwing combos, and this was a fascinating moment, is as he threw a shot, all my sparring muscle memory, and muscle memory doesn't exist, all the neural patterns from all my sparring, when Warren threw the first shot and I flinched, I wanted to create space. Well, that set him up for the follow-up, and I'm getting nailed because I'm moving away from danger. That inspired our maxim, sometimes moving away from danger puts you in more danger. As counterintuitive as it is, at close quarters, we need to penetrate the attack. We need to get into, ironically, the eye of the storm, where at a metaphoric level, this is where you can find some equanimity, some calm in there. Counterintuitive and maybe a little too poetic. But moving in took away somebody's spontaneity, their speed, their rotational force. And so very quickly, I went from pushing away danger to grabbing and wrapping and doing shitty clinches and shitty overhooks so that I could stuff Warren and he couldn't hit me. And then I'd push him away and reset. And what I noticed over and over again, even though I was getting fucking nailed, was that every time I flinched, he would hit my forearm, elbow, tricep, shoulder, right? And we weren't sparring, guys. We were like he'd come in, one scenario, it was like, hey, the boss wants his money. And what I would do is I would just say, okay, whatever he says, it's like an improv class. And I'd go, well, hey man, look, I need another couple of days. I got half the money. Can I speak to the boss? Whack, a shot would come out and I'd be like, whoa, and he was hitting uppercuts, body shots, hook punches. We evolved it. But I got my ass kicked. But afterwards, thinking about it and watching the videos, I noticed something, as in, like, it's just instinctive researcher, because my quest was, how do I make myself safer? And what had spawned that is there was a road rage incident that I was involved in where I was trapped in, I was angry, we were doing like stupid testosterone bullshit, guy stuff. And I hit the brakes. There's a car in front of me. I hear his brakes kick off, the squeak. And I look in my mirror and he's already out of his car running towards me. And I realized I was just pinned in here. My window was down. And I was like, fuck. And my instinct was I didn't want to get trapped in the car. I got out just as he charged me. And I've been boxing, wrestling, taekwondo, and he was just on me. And next thing you know, we're rolling on the trunk of my car. There were no smartphones, so there are no idiots filming us. People got out of their car. They're going, stop fighting, stop fighting. And we're rolling around like doing like fucking, thank God it wasn't filmed. It was so embarrassing. But the idea here is when it was over, I was like, what the fuck was that? Tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, friggin' pounding heart. Not a single punch, not a single kick, not a single, because it just came out of nowhere, although it didn't. So all of this inspired, and I'm going to segue into promise we're doing boxing today, because that and another confrontation, I realized, I started thinking, fuck, if I just hit him with that shot properly, if I controlled the distance there. And this is the illusion and the danger we all have. And I'm sharing this in the hopes that it saves somebody's teeth, nose, or worse. When I went to study boxing officially the first time, it was because I hit a guy with a punch in the street that I was in school, but like a street fight in school. I hit him, and as I hit him, he threw like the sucker punch, triggered a flinch that I covered, and I didn't realize like what was going on at the time. You know, when the flinch triggered, he fell forward. I grabbed him by the hair, pulled him in, did a hip throw, from my wrestling stuff, and then threw him against some desks, and he was stunned from that. But I went, shit, that jab was horrible because he was still able to throw a punch. In other words, I would look at like the tool in the toolbox as the problem and the solution, as opposed to the scenario and the emotional, psychological duress of something coming at you. So if you guys can see me and I start to whisper and you lean in and I go, fuck you, and I'm at you like this, you're not doing wax on, wax off. And I would say, and it's a maxim in the system, all fights are dangerous, of course, but the most dangerous fight is the ambush, because the ambush will hijack your executive function. So all of the stuff that we practice goes out the window, and that's what happened to me in the sucker punch drill. Now, I could have not told anyone about it. I could have not thought about it, because at the end of it, it looked like I just got the shit punched out of me by 3 people. Ice pack, Tylenol, bleeding, sitting on my desk going, what the fuck was that? But I knew something was there. That experience created the spear system. It was like, what is this? How come when I flinched, and here's the thing is, nobody thinks to flinch. Everyone on this call here, and please share this after with your friends and other friends in martial arts and self-defense community, whether they're trained or not, because this insight will change and save lives, guaranteed, 100%. Why? Because it's based on true science, the sciences of physiology, the science of kinesiology, the science of psychology. And the sciences will meet you where you are in your life. If you're 10 and you're learning this, whatever makes sense to you as a 10-year-old, it'll augment where you're at. 10-year-olds don't know what the word augment means, right? But when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, this will start to make sense. There's a lot of more mature, remember, we're all aging athletes. There's a lot of mature martial artists, lifelong martial artists on this. And there's a piece missing in everything we do. I knew that. I didn't know what it was. And it wasn't, and I could demo all the shit. You want me to do some Wing Chun? You want me to do some Kung Fu? You want me to jab? You want me to pick up a knife, bow and arrow? I got all the shit, but those are complex motor skills. And everyone can perform a complex motor skill. Can you, in our system, if you ever get to train with us, you'll learn the components of speed and biomechanics as it relates to violence. We call it raw speed, quickness, and suddenness. Raw speed is whatever your genetic gifts are. You have fast twitch muscle fibers, you have slow twitch muscle fibers. What are they? Your quickness is your ability to neuromuscular communicate, mind navigates the body, and go do this really fast. So, for example, I practice dry fire. And so and I'll practice, with a SIRT pistol. But I recognize that if I'm sitting here talking and all of a sudden bullets come ripping through my wall here, that I'm not going, right? And you got to make that sound. That's the sound of drawing your air gun. What happens if I'm ambushed is, whoa, fuck, right? Your body turns away from danger. You know what I once did at at SWAT Roundup, a very famous SWAT conference I was teaching at in Florida for many years. I had all the cops drop down. There was SWAT, so they all had drop down leg holsters. And I had them all, I don't know if I can demo this here, but I had them all simulate arresting somebody and then having to draw their weapon. And so if you're a right-handed shooter, what they all did was, and I put this here, if I can show you this, as a right-handed shooter, they're down here like this, and they've got their right knee on the ground doing this. And if they have to draw their weapon, they can, because it's here on their hip or their leg holster. And I said, okay, that's great. I said, now the fight gets a little crazy. You roll the guy and now switch it so your left leg is down. And so we had them switch it, and now their gun is actually pointed backwards on their dominant side, and nobody could draw their gun properly or quickly. And all I did was change the direction of the fight and force them to roll. They just never practiced that. The angle of the wrist, the unlocking, the delock, the unlocking of the mechanism on the gun, where there was a thumb brake or some other platform at the time. But they all, like there was like 2-3 seconds where they had to move because they'd never practiced both sides. And I would tell them, hey, the bad guy controls the fight. And I'm sharing that with all of you here. The bad guy controls the fight. What do I mean by that? A lot of people don't like to hear that. The bad guy controls the fight. Who controls the location of a sudden violent attack? Well, if you're not insane and you're not a predator, then it's the predator that controls the location. And who controls the level of violence when the fight starts? Also the predator. Because in my police report, I'm going, out of nowhere, he came at me and then he would try to stab me, punch me, kidnap me. Location and level of violence. And who controls the duration of the fight? This is a tricky one. If you go whack and you punch the person, they fall back and spit out their teeth and come at you, and you front kick the person, and then they pick up an improvised weapon and you pick up an improvised weapon and you hit them and bash them, and the fight goes on for a minute. Who is controlling the duration? You got to figure out the solution, but the bad guy is absolutely influencing how long this fight lasts, because until they quit, the fight is on. And this is such a subtle nuance, and it was inspired by a quote that I read in a book called War Fighting. General Gray from the Marine Corps, he said, the fight is only over when the opponent has lost the will to resist. And I fucking love that. Right? Remember Monty Python's Holy Grail? Remember the Black Knight? Right? None shall pass. Right. He's hopping, right? He's bleeding. He's on the ground, no legs, no arm. Come back here, you coward. But you couldn't pass until you finished chopping the guy's legs and arms off. None shall pass. Okay. What's this got to do with boxing? Small weapons, small targets. You know what the most bruised, broken part of every fighter's anatomy is? MMA, karate, street fighter, cops. Hands. You know how many times I've sprained fingers, broken knuckles, cracked my hand, injured my wrist? I don't even know. And compression fractures on bags, catching an elbow on an uppercut. Street fight I had, back in the day, hit a guy, and all hell broke loose to the point. This was not like sparring, right? I hit a guy, and next thing I know, this fight might have happened in the vestibule in his house, and they might have been having a dinner party, and 6 people come running out after me. And next time I'm in my car and I'm trying to shift gears in my Camaro, and my hand, I can't grab the shifter and I can't see any knuckles. My hand is just swollen up like this. 2 punches broke my knuckle, cracked my hand. Pain is the mother of invention, right? So, do I love boxing? Fuck yeah, I love boxing. Let me show you this clip, and then I'm going to go through a couple of things with you here, because I've been ranting long enough. When you don't get me started, none of you can log off, by the way. I know where you are. You signed in here. You're not allowed to log off. We're going to be talking all day. So If you're running out of gas, if you're in your car, go fill up. If you're at home, get your generator going, stand by. Let me find the link. Share screen, Chrome tab, and yeah, here we go. So this went viral years and years ago, and it was sent to me before I go to it. People would send it to me going, "See, I thought you said boxing doesn't work." This is my favorite thing when petulant bully online martial artists don't like what I said. "I thought you said this doesn't work." Everything fucking works until it doesn't. And if you find an anomaly event, and what do I call an anomaly event? This is an anomaly event. This guy's a fucking unicorn. Let's watch this. This is in Turkey. Okay, that was good. So how do we get back to StreamYard? Here I am. Am I back? Did it play okay? Did everyone see that? Okay. So you watch that and you go, "See, boxing works." There's a couple of things. For all of you who are really into self-defense, and this is something I shared a long time ago, still misunderstood to this day. I always say, watch the bad guy. Don't watch the instructor. Don't watch the good guy. Watch the bad guy. The bad guy is the only person that will tell you if you were ready, if you had the skill, if you had the readiness and the answer, the solution to the problem. So a lot of times I would say, like, watch the fight and cover your eyes so you can't see the good guy, and especially do this. Wade is asking if you can go piss. Okay, I'll let you go this time, but everyone next call, diapers or a bottle. I don't want you leaving and missing anything important, right? Okay, but you can go, Wade. You can go to the bathroom now. Thank you for asking. Where was I? I completely forgot where I was. Stand by. Oh, fuck. I forgot it. Okay. I'll just pick up on the concept. The boxing element here, I was talking about, watching the bad guy. If you have a self-defense videotape of any expert, watch the role player and ask yourself, is this attack realistic? Is this attack consistent with predatory behavior? Because that's the most important thing. We're not training to fight each other. We're training to defend ourselves from a truly violent attack. So a lot of times when you watch a demo, you'll see somebody will pull a punch over the instructor's head, stop after the first shot, grab, the instructor. And sometimes, like, these guys are fucking amazing. They're insanely fast, flexible, agile. You can tell they've got power, but I look at the role player isn't doing anything. Also, let's run it through the systems filter. Was there ACP, awareness, consent, preparation? Did they choreograph it? Did they practice that? If you're new on today's call, go back and listen to Thursday's talk where I share, some of the dangers of thinking that you are doing stuff as realistically as you can. You need to do this carefully. You need to do this scientifically. This is one of the most important things that we developed during our incubator period, which is the 80s and early 90s, was a scenario system that included instructions on how to role play that we lovingly referred to: be a good bad guy, be a good guy. That recognizing that everyone was a role player in a scenario. I digress. Let's go back to the boxing. What do I love about it? First of all, the guy was a security guard in Turkey, but he's a lifelong boxer, right? You saw him after the first hit, step back, and he was like in a tight stance. He was watching, great situational awareness, and he was dropping guys, intercepting them. I mean, it looked like a shitty old, any of you remember the Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies? That one guy that jumped at him and he got hit and dropped, like while the guy was trying to do a flying side kick or something. It was insane. But it was a real fight. And then everyone went, look, boxing has been vindicated. I look at this, I go, watch it again and just watch the bad guys. I've been in a few street scuffles. I've never had people come at me that slowly and poorly, leading with their face, launching. Like it's been different. My experience has been different. So I can look at that and go, a skilled boxer versus a very unskilled attacker will always light you up. You could have just asked me that. So boxing's amazing, but a lot of it depends on the scenario, and that's our big thing: is what's the scenario. So here's another assessment and just some notes that I made to discuss on today's call. When I'm consulting or talking or coaching people about immediate self-defense, and I'll play it again in a second. Immediate self-defense triggers a micro flinch. So the first bullet I have here is something we call TTL, time to learn. So we have this matrix on stuff because I get asked as a consultant, hey, what do you think about this? Like people try, like some of these units and organizations I train will ask me, what do I think about this? What do I think about that? And some of these groups have discretionary funds. They could dabble and check out anybody. And so I run them through this matrix. I go, time to learn. So that's TTL, RTL, risk to limb. So a lot of these military guys, they go, what about this? And I go, risk to limb is great there. So imagine you go whap, you throw a punch. Boxing's great, but in a high stress situation, do you have time to wrap your hand? Are you going to put a 14 ounce or 16 ounce glove on? Or are you going to move? And when you move right away, is there any chance you're going to sprain your wrist, break your hand, crack a thumb? And if you do, can you transition to your handgun or your long gun if your hand's broken? Same question for a cop, and same for any one of you. You got your keys in your hand, your briefcase over here, your kid, your wife, or your whatever, and something happens and you go whack, whack. Now, this guy didn't look like he broke his hand because he was trained, but who knows? He might have broken his hands and kept fighting. People do that with adrenaline, but he looked okay. But the questions I ask, and this is not me saying don't box, because I box and I punch people in the face. I've also broken thumbs on elbows. Somebody flinches as you're coming in and your hand catches an elbow. So risk to limb, time to learn, scalability. Because every filter, when you have a conversation with me, so there's part of Tony that loves martial arts and practices martial arts. And then there's another part of Tony, CEO of Blauer Tactical, that teaches realistic, relevant self-defense, that has a moral, ethical, legal foundation, so that we have a formula, principle-based formula, where we can go into any country, in any place, and go, what's going on here? and then you plug in the system and it spits out drills for you. I want to teach people to memorize stuff. So scalability, what does that mean? Jiu-jitsu is a great example of scalability because I can restrain somebody and I could choke them out. I could turn a lateral vascular neck restraint, the carotid restraint, and I could slide it around and turn it into a front choke, and I could do wicked damage, right? So you could maim or kill somebody if you crush their tracheum or Adam's apple, right? I could make somebody tap with an arm bar and I could break their elbow, snap their wrist. So jiu-jitsu is a scalable martial art. Is boxing, we're talking about boxing today. Can I punch you lightly in the face? Well, yeah, but not in a street situation. If we're sparring, we can flick and do open hand. But if I'm using that art to stop somebody, the art and science of boxing, to stop somebody coming at me, and I'm going whack and I'm hitting with uppercuts, you can't be pulling that shit. You got to throw it, especially if you're getting swarmed like he was. And then the next thing here is optics. In the defund the police era, in the litigious world we live in the pussified planet Earth, where did I say that out loud? Beep. You saw the video I started with this show, so I prepped you for that. Where I'm going to sue you, I'm going to cancel you. Can you scale? And what are the optics like when I go, hey man, I've had enough, wham, wham, and I'm smash you in the face. At the end of the day, you can't make a uppercut, hook punch, cross look friendly, right? There's no way to go and do that in a friendly way. It's always going to look like a punch. Does that matter? Well, it can matter, right? All I was doing was running at you to grab you, and you fucking hit me with a 1, 2, 3. Now my nose is broken, my jaw is broken, my teeth are broken, and I'm suing you and I have PTSD. Guess what? That guy's going to win some money, even though he started the fight. Okay? Let's play it again. We got asked to watch it again. Watch the bad guy. Try to only watch the bad guys and watch. So what I'm asking you to look for here is how slow they look and how they're leading with their face and their head. That if all of you on this call have worked with focus pads, right? So your coach is here like this, he's moving around, you're here and you're waiting for what? Everyone ready? Right? Boom, right? Now watch these guys as if they're fucking focus pads. Present, share screen. There's one good sucker punch here that the guy slips. You guys see that? I mean, they're just like running towards the guy. He's got good footwork, good angles, good sharp, tight punches. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But if you're not an experienced boxer, we can't make that happen. And that guy kept his shit together, and it was interesting. There was a video, and I'll find it and I'll play it one time, of I believe he was a sergeant in the Israeli army. He's a Krav Maga instructor. He has a Krav Maga school in Israel. It's authentic. He's from Israel and he's in the army. And there's a surveillance video of him going in as a courageous bystander with some terrorists slashing people with a knife. And he moves in, he runs it, he challenges the guy verbally, and the guy tries to slash at him, and he throws a moving backwards, this is Sparta kick, right? Remember, this is Sparta, which is not like, you don't see that type of, like a stepping back, going, oh, fucking, like leaning backwards, stomping kick like that in Krav Maga demos. They're very fast. They're always to the groin. You're always doing a gun disarm or a knife disarm. There's always a quick shot to the nuts, and right. Didn't look like and I'm not knocking Krav Maga here. Then the guy runs away into the store with the knife. The courageous bystander / Krav Maga instructor / military expert runs in. He grabs pulls a shelf off the wall, I believe, and uses the shelf as a bridge to control, because the guy's still slashing. That act inspired a bunch of other people. Remember, I always say fear is contagious, but so is courage. When he started fighting back and picking up improvised weapons, other people in the store did, and they swarmed the guy. And the internet was Krav Maga expert saves blah, blah, blah. And I went on and I said, I didn't see any Krav Maga there. What I saw was giant fucking balls of steel from a very brave warrior who risked his life to save people. But why are you marketing that as Krav Maga? People fucking hated me. I'm not saying Krav's bad, but do you think maybe his years in the military augmented his courage and bravery to charge a threat? Right? Do you think that had anything to do with it? And where was the technique? So imagine if we go back to this video here, and we're watching the video, and here's this boxer lines up, and he misses with a punch, and then he misses with a punch, and then he picks up a chair and hits each guy with a chair, and then it goes, boxer fights off, and now the guys were selling boxing. I'm going, wait a minute, like, no. He was beating them with a chair. In other words, what I'm asking people to do is don't mistake the trademark for the truth. Figure out what you need to do, how to manifest courage, and figure out a primal gross motor approach to sudden violence. Don't stop practicing your martial art, because there's wonderful things from everything from this is my family, my community, this is my moving meditation, to this keeps me in shape, to I'm learning how to move my body, I'm developing speed, agility, coordination, timing, proximity sense. But don't confuse the tools in your toolbox as what's going to really solve the problem for you initially. Okay. Let's do, it's 11 o'clock. I want to try and keep these as an hour long or so, but you know me. Who's got, I'm going to scroll some of the comments here, but if you've got a question, please post it. And Elisa, I know you're working in the background. If you see any questions here, let me know. We also need to watch, I'm going to pop what Wade wrote here. He watched a fight on Instagram earlier, learned a lot. Bad guy swinging wild until good guy moved into punch. Bad guy went into low-level takedown, dominated defender, good timing. So Wade, I'm going to say something here. Don't in any way let it discredit what you're saying. As martial artists, as self-defense practitioners, of course, we can learn from stuff online. But I get people send me fights all the time. Hey, check this out, check this out, check this out. And 95% of them are what I define as a illegitimate, unethical, not credible self-defense confrontation. They're street fights. I have a slang term for the unethical, not credible fight, and I call it a douchebag fight. It's where egos and drugs and booze and egos and drugs and booze and egos, drugs and booze get involved, and people are like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and they square off. There is a very, very big difference between a violent encounter and a street fight. And if you guys listen very carefully, very fucking carefully, that last line, that can save you a lawsuit or worse. Learning how to differentiate takes a lot of self-control and it takes courage to move away, but learning how to avoid douchebag fights. And this will make sense to you as you get older and, you know, family, business, maturity, evolution, wisdom. So Wade, I appreciate that, but I did want to point out, I didn't see it. It might've been, you know, but usually when there's sudden violence, you don't see technique. There's no sparring type rhythm. There's no, you know, we don't see slipping and moving and stuff like that. What's interesting, we'll play it another time. There was a video that went viral, and I'm sure you all saw it, where a guy with a machete comes at a soldier, and the guy fucking throws this amazing hip throw and drops him to the ground. I did a whole breakdown. As soon as it was online, I went, this is fake, this is choreographed. I'm not going to mention the names because the biggest names in self-defense and martial arts all reshared it immediately, stating, this is why you train. This is a gorgeous example of why you train. None of them knew it was fake. As soon as it was posted, I went, this is fake, this is choreographed. Doesn't diminish how good the defender is, but how do you not know it's fake? And there are things to look for, just like at a forensics level, and that's what I want to share with martial arts and self-defense instructors all over the world, is when you can, you just think of all the time you say when you look at something, you go, that's a douchebag fight, I don't want to look at that. That's a real fight, fuck. What would have happened here? I wrote an article. I hope all of you are on my newsletter. Can we pop up the link to my newsletter? Make sure you're on my newsletter, certainly, and also go to my Substack, which is a way for us to interact. But there's an article, I don't remember the name of it right now, but when in the last couple of months, when all these daylight robberies started happening, people are just sitting up in LA, guys are walking up with guns and mugging people. Of course, that got my attention, and people started sending it in to me, you know, and I wrote an article and I said this, listen, I'm 62 years old. I've been training since I'm 7 years old. My background, my resume, the history, like I know a lot of shit and I've done a lot of shit. And I wrote this, again, the transparency and vulnerability that I referenced earlier. The article was, I know what I could do. I don't know what I would do. Can you say that? Can you look at a violent encounter and go, fuck, what would I do there? Well, I know I could do this, but what would I do there? If I was alone, what would I do? If I was there with my kids, what would I do? If I was there with my, you know, my in-laws who can't run, what would I do? Would I fight? Would I leave? Would I run? And so this is the type of conscientious self-awareness I want to inspire in the industry, and we've been trying to do for a long time. There's 4 categories, folks, that you can practice in. Category 1, we'll do a much deeper call on this another time. Category 1 is all martial arts. There's a certain way you practice all martial arts. There's rituals, there's movements, it's block-based training. It's not associated to a scenario. It's like this get in this position, move here. And, you know, I can remember when I was in Taekwondo back in the 70s, a buddy of mine who was really good was sparring in a tournament, and he blocked a punch and hit a guy with a body shot, and he was warned not to use boxing in the tournament. Use only Taekwondo. In other words, you're developing neural patterns to just express the art. Something to think about. So category 1 is all martial arts and how you practice that. Category 2 are combat sports and how you practice that. So if you're doing, let's say, hardstyle Japanese martial art, and you're striking in the air and you're doing 1-step, 2-step, 3-step sparring, and now you go to a kickboxing tournament, most people, there's a transition period. You don't do well right away unless you're the unicorn, right? There are unicorns that transition to UFC, MMA, their background. They were natural, right? They're the superstars. We get that. But for the rest of us, the most of us, there's a period. And what is the transition? The transition is everything I talk about. It's on my wall. It's fear, managing fear, because the mind navigates the body. Managing fear then sets me up into a new arena where I'm starting to manage my fear, and now I've got to modify how I move because it's not cooperative. The bad guy's going to try and punch you, or not the bad guy. Your opponent's going to try and kick you and punch you. Everything changes. Category 3 is reality-based self-defense, where now everyone says this is street, but most are practicing reality-based self-defense like category 1. They're setting up the role player and they're practicing the specific move that is epitomized or stylized by that style, that methodology. I was watching a video today where this guy, very, very ritualized. He was demonstrating some martial arts from India, and every demo he did was very specific to the way they moved. And he would always end, "Yes, this is our martial art, but of course you can use it in combat and in the street." And while this guy was very good, and while everything can work in the street, when you practice to move a specific way, you are creating a neural pattern and a dopamine relationship with executing the move that way. Like, when you're doing it right, it feels a certain way. And that doesn't necessarily jive with what's going on in the street attack, because the bad guy is influencing the timeline and the level of violence and what you need to do. So the 3 categories are all martial arts that are practice block-based training. Category 2 are combat sports, block-based training. Okay, let's work from guard here. Let's work from mount here. Okay, let's work our striking here. You put it together. Now the guys are really fighting, and MMA guys and people that are doing like contact jiu-jitsu and contact sambo and lethwei and Thai boxing, they're fucking badasses, but they're not working on situational awareness, self-awareness, de-escalation scenario. And we'll do a call on that where I will share with you very famous martial artists that would destroy me in a match very easily, who are now dead because they accidentally used their martial expertise against an asocial, antisocial predator who didn't give a fuck. Because the guy with the gun with the knife isn't going to spar with you. We'll do maybe the next call we'll do on that. It's pretty fucking heavy. I put this talk together and did it for some jiu-jitsu friends of mine after I just forgot the gentleman's name, but he was murdered recently in a club in Brazil, like a month ago. World champion, one of the best fighters in the world. Took the guy down, mounted him, controlled him. The guy stood up, pulled out a gun, and shot him in the face. Just because you can fight doesn't mean you should fight. Let me say that again. Just because you can fight doesn't mean you should fight. Can you blend instincts, intuition, intelligence, and go, there's something off with this guy and get the fuck out of here? Yeah, I can beat him every time we fight, but I'm not really prepared to shoot him in the face right now. Mostly because I don't have a gun and I'm not a sociopath. Right? And again, I'm hypothesizing here. So I said the 4 categories, but I only talked about 3. So what's category 4? Category 4 is violent encounters. Notice in category 1, I'm talking about martial arts going, no, like, hey, this is how you do classical karate. This is how you do wushu. This is how you do Tai Chi. If I show up at a Tai Chi class and I'm boxing, the instructor is going to go, what are you doing? That's not Tai Chi. I need you doing this, moving around. I would apologize to anybody who does Tai Chi. That was awful. But, do you guys understand what I'm saying? It's like you do what you do. So you're developing those neural patterns and you're agreeing to move a certain way. Category 2, combat sports. I show up at combat sports and I'm doing wushu and I'm doing stuff. Like, I'm going to get taken down, dumped on my head, thrown out of the gym. If I don't adapt to that, I can't play. I can't do the drills. reality-based self-defense. And this is important because a lot of you on here do RBSD. And you're going, what's he talking about? If I'm saying attack me like this, and I'm going, this is the move that we do to disarm the person here, you are creating a neural pattern specific to that system. That's still block-based training. And there's an issue with it. And so understanding the neurobiology and the neuroscience interference is important if you really want to. It doesn't mean, and this is what, like, don't be a selective listener. Don't disappoint me. Don't fuck up this relationship by going, he said our system doesn't work. I didn't say that. I can give you the most amazing toolbox, and you can pick up the hammer and the awl and the screwdriver. If you don't know how to build shit, you do nothing with those tools. So we use this as our handyman, carpenter, architect metaphor. When you train with us, you are an architect. You understand what we call the timeline of violence. You understand the 3Ds: detect, diffuse, defend. You understand what's going on in your head during de-escalation, internal stuff. Pop it up, Elisa. This is one of the charts from our instructor development training program. You understand, you could even see there on the right, the Star Trek model, the categories talk, right? All martial arts, combat sports, reality-based self-defense. And when you understand all the neurobiology and neuroscience, you realize, oh, and it's got nothing to do with the toolbox, gang. It has to do with the mindset, the mind navigating the body. So it's kind of a neat thing. Let's pop that out here and let me wrap this up here. In category 4, what we do is we only look at the violent encounter and then we reverse engineer based on what the attack is. And we ask ourselves Socratically, are we prepared to handle that? And if not, what do we need to learn? Or what do we need to practice? So we'll get into that a lot deeper there. Let me answer some questions if we can. Name using Juveno got me kicked out of my Shotokan class at the Westmount Y. Well, that's sad. That's unfortunate. But seriously, with all due respect, and I said this, I think, on Thursday's call, or maybe another podcast, but I've had guys come to my seminar and I'm showing them start a flinch outside 90, how to use the spear to do an overhook, how to use the spear to control the head, how to use the spear to jam a tackle, how to use the spear to stop, a Hicks Law compliant methodology. And I've had people there going, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? And I'm like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, provided it doesn't change the outcome. But why aren't you trying to practice and learn this stuff and see if it just augments your safety, if it enhances your survivability? In other words, if you're in a Shotokan class and you sign up for Shotokan, the expectation, think about it like this, guys, just for etiquette. If I want to learn how to speak Italian and I sign up to learn Italian, and then I only want to talk English in the Italian class, I'm going to get kicked out. So if you go to another martial arts system, respect the instructor, respect the art, find its value, find what you can there. I think we need to, again, recognize the difference between an unconscious bias and a conscious bias. And ask ourselves, what is it we want to learn there? Are you coming in to say hi?
And we're live.
Oh my God. This is the famous Mrs. Blauer, who's
This is so weird. It feels like you're talking to yourself.
I am talking to myself. There's nobody here.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, are you guys having fun?
They can't answer you.
Okay.
It's not like Zoom. They can't wave.
Okay, fine.
But we'll do that another time, guys. Okay. Doggy, come here. Come say hi. Archer, come here.
Archie, come see Dad. Come see Dad.
Ace, come say hi. Come say hi. Come here. No,
Ace,
nobody
come.
wants to. Come here, big boy. Hello. Hello. Come here. Come here. Little
AC,
man.
look. AC, look. What's there?
He thinks you're taking it for a while.
Okay, sorry, I know.
Okay. All right, guys. I'll bring all 6 dogs in one day. Does anyone have any questions before we sign off? Any questions? Daniel talks about the monkey dance. Absolutely. We got to watch that. But the monkey dance only exists if you're there. right? So if you improve your, and I'm not saying it can't come to you, but a lot of times when we see that, come on, man, the guy's doing that stuff, it's because the D1, D2 element isn't well defined in our own protocol. What's really super cool, something to think about, like I've had over the years, people message me saying, hey, I almost got into a confrontation last night. Operative word, almost. You pick out the pre-contact cues and you're just getting out of there. So, yep, we got here. This is an old quote here, right? Combatives Camp 2018. If we improve our, I've refined or I've upgraded the quote to, if we improve our reception speed, we decrease our reaction time. Still pretty much the same. And how do we improve our perception speed? The best way to do that, at least if it's for self-defense, is to study violence and ask yourself, what would I do here? What was the first thing I picked up? There's so much more to it there, gang. And a lot of us get caught in how to practice how to get out of a headlock, or, standing in front of a bag and working on our strikes and our power. A necessary component. This goes back to that handyman, carpenter, architect metaphor, where what we're looking at is the handyman knows how to use a few tools. The carpenter knows how to do more and do more repairs, but the architect understands the blueprint, the lay of the land. The architect might go, and he knows how to use all the tools. It's still in his wheelhouse, but he hires other people. But he can look at it and goes, yeah, I wouldn't build here. And that's what we're talking about, is D1, detect and avoid. We'll do a whole call another time on choice speech and psychology. Okay, if there's no questions, got some nice comments. Hey, thank you all for sharing your Saturday with me. Let's do some shameless plugs here for, one is, this is a good link to go to. It's got our 3 most popular resources right now are the free ebook, Making Friends with Fear, the No Fear program, which is our digital research on the no fear. And then, of course, access to me and the team in the garage gym. And we've got hundreds and hundreds of classes in there. If you literally give me 2 to 3 months and I will change your tactical fitness, I will change your speed, I will change your power, I will change your confidence. And there's 3 classes. I think it's about $8 or $10 a class, which is a joke. Like, go drop in a yoga studio. Go drop in on a some fitness club. If it's not some giant conglomerate, it's $20, $30 depending on what it is. We don't do drop-ins because the stuff is too deep here. But make that investment. Check it out if you're sitting on the fence. And I will look back after, because of course this stays loaded. People comment after. I'll do my best to go through and answer comments and stuff like that. But if there's no other questions, Elisa, did you see any questions in the background that I ignored? Oh yeah, the podcast here. This one here. If you Google, it's a Sort of Awesome podcast. I've talked about it in a couple, but this is the one where Jesse broke down, started crying, talking about the home invasion we had. It's pretty insane. Another one that I would really, so 2 things here before we go is check this out. If you're not on my Substack, it's Freudian slip, Substack, go read this. Where is it? Here's another video I'll show you real quick. Check this out. You've all seen this one, viral. No sound, CCTV. Look how calm the little guy is on the left. The video freezes. Here it goes. And then again, guys, we come back to, like, both those guys sucked. Like, you can look at that and go, look at that. The guy was an old former pro boxer, not afraid of these 2 assholes. Just fucking lit them up. Boxing's great. But I look at it, I go, look at the bad guys. overconfident, drunk, stupid. And then if you could do that, of course you look cool. But let's say the guy who fell down unconscious and hit his head is in a coma for a month and then dies. Now, depending on what country you're in, nothing happens. In some other countries, you lose everything you've ever got because of optics and you can't scale it. Am I putting down boxing? No. Right? I'm just helping you look at stuff differently. I was trying to find this other article. Garage Gym, Tony Blair training programs. Where the frig did it? I thought I put it up here, but it didn't. It was in my Substack articles. I'll find it here. 1 second. Give me 1 sec. Tony Blair Substack. So here I'm going to share this. So if you go to Substack, there are a ton of pieces in here. Oh, this one here. I armbarred a Navy SEAL and immediately regretted it. If you really want to like a deep read in neuroscience and neurobiology, I don't know if it'll open. If it sees me, okay, it recognizes me. But go check it out. There's some video in there. And I think if you're into self-defense and martial arts, that article will really, really help. And another one, even though I told you guys were leaving, some of you stayed with me. This is an important one too. No, I don't want training tips. Thank you. Violence doesn't care what martial art you study. Police officer gets stabbed in the neck with a screwdriver. I replicated in the garage gym, but then I explain the scientific and physiological basis of the human weapon system and run through that. So really another one, this is on Caliber Press. I don't know, Elisa, do we have that one to share? The link for that? That's the, here's the link if you want to stick it up. Okay, pop that off. All righty, there we go. That was me. Okay, so, okay, gang. I think that we got two new comments here. Let me see if there's anything there. No, those are ours. We put them in there. Excellent. Boom. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go. Listen, if you have themes or topics, you're going to analyze a video, send them in. For now, we're gonna create a No Fear at Blower Tactical account. You know what? I'll do that right away. Just send it to nofear@blowertactical.com and spread the word. Share these talks with your self-defense buddies, your martial arts buddies. I'll tell you this selfishly. Let me close on this. When I was 20 years old, I got asked what I want to do. I said, I want to make the world safer by a venture capitalist who sat back in his executive chair like this, put his hands behind his head like this, and said, you want to make the world safer? You don't think that's a little grandiose? And that's what I've been doing ever since 1980, trying to make the world safer. But I need conscientious professionals to help me do that. We have created a system that you can learn and study, and you take it and you could drop it in your kickboxing school, your boxing school, your Krav school, your jiu-jitsu school. It's not turnkey because there's work to do, but the system is an element within your school that will make your students safer. You're the unicorn in your school, right? Let's pretend you're the security guard in the turkey video. You do that all day. Your students can't do that. 99.9% of them will never get to the level we are all at if you guys are lifelong. Dave Sinopoli on here, lifelong martial artist, right? On Jeff DeTesso, lifelong martial artist. Like I'm looking here, just names that I recognize. There's school owners on here. On the last call, we had some, some badasses on that call. Walt Lysak, like you guys are all the anomaly, the unicorn in your teaching. So this is a system that teaches you how to reverse engineer scenarios and look at scenario training, how to train role players, how to do force on force training, how to help your students manage fear, and then how to weaponize the start of flinch. So it's almost like a hub inside whatever you're offering. So hopefully some of you will check that out. We've got hundreds of affiliates around the world. And my goal selfishly is to share and create as much value as I can, but also shameless plug. I want you all to look into what we do. Start with the garage gym because it's like cheap, right? And then take it to the next level and make your students safer, make your community safer. Thank you, sir. Some of you who have alias names like Crusader 34, appreciate that, but I don't know who, your name from Crusaders 34, but I appreciate you. Thank you for saying that. Gang, I'll let you go because I'll just ramble on. I love doing this. I won't do any work. I won't spend any time with my family. I won't eat lunch. Okay, I'm going to do my best to squeeze in a workout today and get back to you and answer any comments here. Be safe. We'll see you next event, probably next Saturday too, maybe sometime in between.